Blast me to Bermuda. It's time for another Mad Merlin's video. Hello everyone and welcome back. So we are continuing our Speed Duels GX Duel Academy box deck overview, and we are moving forward with that professional duelist and pain in the butt Aster Phoenix. So as usual, we will go through the skills, go through each of the different cards, potential combos, before looking at strengths, weaknesses, and any modifications I'd make. So, first off, Aster's skills. So we've got a powerful group of guys. So when you control exactly one Destiny Hero monster and no other monsters, and your opponent controls more monsters, special summon a Destiny Hero from your handled deck with a lower level than the monster you control. You can only summon Destiny Hero monsters during the turn you activate this skill. Flip this card over at the end of the turn you activate the skill. So this is a once per game skill, and you can basically swarm out some extra Destiny Heroes. So if you've got a high level Destiny Hero, and there are quite a few in this deck, it's a good way of pulling out a second one to help with special summoning of the stronger Destiny Hero cards. Next up, looking into the future, which is a skill I've used myself. It's not too bad. So during your main phase, you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck and return them in any order. You cannot activate spell cards the turn you use this skill. Flip this card over at the end of the turn you activate the skill. So again, another once per game skill, but a pretty handy one. Being able to look 3 turns ahead with this deck is pretty good, especially if you've got Diamond Dude out. You want to trigger his effect and make sure you've got a spell on top. It's very handy to try and pull that off. But other than that, both of these are pretty good skills, but only once per game. So unless Aster has some new skills coming up in future sets, there's none to go mad for. So next we'll take a look at the monsters, and as you'd expect with an Aster deck, it is literally full of Destiny Heroes. So right up front we've got the big bad of the deck, Destiny Hero Plasma. So this monster cannot be normal summoned as a set, must be special summoned by attributing 3 monsters. Negate the effects of face-up monsters while your opponent controls them. Once per turn, you can negate 1 monster your opponent controls, equip that target to this card, maximum of 1, and this card gains attack equal to half the attack of the original attack of that monster. So a bit confusing really if you aren't too familiar with the card. But basically, you need to have 3 monsters on the field in order to bring him out. He negates the effects of your opponent's monsters, but only while your opponent controls them. So if you manage to switch control of one of your monsters for one of your opponents, then that effect will no longer be negated, which is pretty good. And then once per turn, you can absorb one of your opponent's monsters. And I believe the original card, you gain the full attack. This reprint gives you only half the original attack of the equipped monster. That's not too bad for Destiny Hero Plasma. He is one of the better Destiny Hero cards in the deck. So next up, we got Destiny Hero Doomlord, who's a level 3 warrior dark monster. So once per turn, you can target 1 monster your opponent controls and banish that target. You cannot declare an attack the turn you activate this effect. You must control this face-up attack position card to activate and resolve this effect, so it can't be in defense position, obviously. The banished monster will return during the second standby phase after activation. So basically, it transports a monster 2 turns into the future, as it is said in the anime. And basically, its effect can only be activated while it's in attack position as well, which is, I think, a new addition to the rule. I can't remember the original Doomlord card. But it's pretty handy once per turn and makes up for his low attack points. He does have the downside that you can't attack this turn, but clearing one of your opponent's monsters for 2 turns isn't too bad. One of the key monsters of the deck, Destiny Hero Diamond Dude. So once per turn, you can excavate the top card of your deck, and if it's a normal spell, send it to the graveyard. Otherwise, place it on the bottom of your deck. During the main phase of your next turn, you can activate that spell card from your graveyard, even if you no longer control this face-up card. So he's a pretty good level 4 monster, 1400 attack and 1600 defense. There is a lot of normal spells in here, and I believe he used to have, I don't know if it's him or one of the other cards, but he used to be able to skip the cost of the card he sent to the graveyard, I think. So if you had a card that paid 1,000 life points to activate, you didn't have to pay that. But I think they've reworked him now, and he isn't as OP as he once was. But still, plenty of normal spells in this deck that could be used from the graveyard would be pretty good. So, next up, Destiny Hero Blade Master. During your opponent's battle phase, quick effect. You can discard this card, then all Destiny Hero monsters you currently control gain 800 attack. So he's not much to look at, but with that awesome attack boost effect, he's well worth having in the deck. I would probably run him at 2 myself, but still, it doesn't wear off at the end of the turn, but boosting up 800 points is pretty big in speed duels. Next up, Destiny. Oops, drop my cards. Next up, Destiny Hero Dasher. So this is the Destiny Hero version of Necroshade, pretty much. So once per turn, you contribute one other monster. This card gains 1,000 attack until the end of this turn. If this card attacks, change it to defense position until at the end of the battle phase. And once, while this card is in your graveyard, when you draw a monster during your draw phase, you can reveal it and special summon it. This card must be in your graveyard to activate and resolve the effect. So if your opponent activates a card that will banish it from the grave, the effect disappears. But it's, like I said, the Destiny Hero version of Necroshade, which allows you a bonus summoning. Necroshade allows you to summon without tributes. This allows you to special summon if you reveal it during your draw phase. So if you pull out one of your high level monsters, you can pretty much bring it straight out for a free summon. And he's pretty good, level 5, 2100 attack as well. So next up, Destiny Hero Fearmonger. So during your standby phase, if this card is in your graveyard because it was destroyed by battle and sent there since the last standby phase, target one Destiny Hero monster in your graveyard except Fearmonger, and then special summon that target. So this is one of your recycler cards in the deck. It allows you to gain an extra Destiny Hero from the graveyard. That is not itself, or another Fearmonger. And not the best stats for level 4, only 1,000 attack and defense, but you're bringing him for his fact to bring out that extra Destiny Hero. Because you're going to need quite a few on the field, especially for this guy, Destiny Hero Dogma. So cannot be normal summons or set, must be special summoned by tributing 3 monsters, including at least 1 Destiny Hero. Once per turn, if you still control this card, during your opponent's next standby phase, after it was special summoned, half your opponent's life points. So that's a pretty nasty effect. You can't stack it with another Dogma, sadly, I believe, because it's a once per turn effect. But you can still really do some damage to your opponent's life points, cutting it straight in half. And as it says, once per turn, so there's no end to the amount of times you can trigger it, as long as it's just a standby phase. But with 3,400 and 2,400, he's going to be pretty hard to shift off the battlefield. So this deck does require a lot of multiple monsters on the field. So next up we got 2 copies of Destiny Hero Malicious. So you can banish this card from your graveyard and special summon a Destiny Hero Malicious from your deck. So these are your quick to summon tribute fodder sort of materials. You basically want to discard these for another card's effect and then banish it from the graveyard to special summon another one from your deck. This deck does really well at special summoning a lot of monsters, and building up for those big triple tributes for Plasma and Dogma. And finally for our monsters, we got Destiny Hero Dark Angel. So if you have 3 or more Destiny Hero monsters in your graveyard, you can discard this card, target one of them, and special summon it to your opponent's field in defense position. When a spell card or effect you activate resolves, negate that effect, and if you do, or if it did not have any effect, destroy that card. During your standby phase, you can banish this card and one Destiny Hero monster from your graveyard. Each player chooses a normal spell and places it on top of their deck. So again, it's another rather confusing card, but break it down pretty simply. So if you have 3 or more Destiny Hero monsters in your graveyard, you can discard this card and special summon a Destiny Hero to your opponent's side of the field in defense position. There are some other Destiny Heroes that have effects that activate when they are summoned to the opponent's side of the field, so they'll be quite good in combining with this guy. Next, you have the ability to negate and destroy a card effect that you activate. And if you didn't, and also if it did not have an effect, you can destroy that card. So then finally, during your standby phase, you can banish this card and one other Destiny Hero. Each player then chooses a normal spell from the deck and places it on top of their deck. So it helps you put a normal spell on top of your deck. So if you've got this guy chilling in your graveyard and another Destiny Hero, and you have Diamond Dude face up, banish this guy and one other Destiny Hero, then activate Diamond Dude once you've put that normal spell on top of your deck. So he's pretty good in this deck as is, but without the other Destiny Heroes that affect by summoning to your opponent's side of the field, part of his effects isn't going to be used that much. Also, he is only a 1-star, 0 attack, 0 defense, so he doesn't have a big lot to play in this game, in this deck, but still has his uses in select plays. Okay, time to move on to the spells. And as I mentioned earlier, we got quite a few normal spells in here. So we start off with Polymerization, as we've seen in a lot of the previous decks. There's quite a few copies of this card in the entire box, so you can easily break down the decks and put it into some more powerful combo decks. So fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using materials in your hand or field as fusion material. So there are 2 fusion monsters in the deck, but really, a Destiny Hero, you aren't going to pull them out all that often. I'd probably say remove this and put it in the Jaden deck, and then double up on some of the other normal spells. So Reinforcements of the Army, this is the, I think, 3rd or 4th copy of this card in the deck that's in a Warrior Heavy deck. It allows you to add a level 4 or lower Warrior monster from your deck to your hand. Pretty good searching material, especially in a deck where you want to get a certain card out straight away. If you've already got Diamond Dude, you could easily search out Dark Angel. The only equipped card in the deck is Fusion Sword Murasame Blade. So equipped only to a warrior monster, it gains 800 attack. While equipped, this card cannot be destroyed. So this is a good card to combo with Gearfried the Iron Knight, who has the effect of destroying any equipped card attached to him. Because this card can't be destroyed by card effects, it's a really good equipment card to buff up Gearfried. So this and Salamandra from the Axel deck, I think, might be finding their way into one of my Joey Warrior decks. I used to run 2 of that in the olden days when I had a pretty good Warrior deck of my own. And the only other non-normal spell in the deck is the field spell Dark City. So this is basically a dark version of Skyscraper. So if a Destiny Hero monster attacks an opponent's monster with a higher attack, that monster gains 1,000 attack during damage calculation. So this card you would like to try and draw out as early as possible. You have very few monsters in your deck that are going to be able to beat your opponent's high attack monsters straight off the bat. Gaining that 1,000 points for damage calculation is going to help you win some fights. So next we have D-Spirit. So this special summons a level 4 or lower Destiny Hero monster from your hand. You must control no Destiny Hero monsters to activate and resolve this effect. So this, like I said, this deck has a lot of ways to special summon. And this one is pretty good because it states you must not control any other Destiny Hero monsters. So if you want to throw in a few non-Destiny Hero cards into the deck and have one of those out, you can activate this and bring out your special summon your Destiny Hero from your hand. Then that still gives you another normal or even another special summon. Next we have Over Destiny. So target a Destiny Hero monster in your graveyard, special summon one Destiny Hero monster from your deck whose level is less than or equal to half that target's level, but destroy it during the end phase. So if you've lost one of your big Destiny Hero monsters, you can use that effect to target another Destiny Hero monster in your graveyard and then special summon it, as long as it's less than half that monster's level. So yeah, brings it out from your deck. So that's another way. If you have lost one of your big high level monsters, you can always pull out an extra lower level monster from your deck as long as it's half that level. So like I said, this deck is really good at building up for special summons and tributing for those two big monsters. Finally, our last spell is Night Beam. So target one set spell or trap your opponent controls, destroy that target. Your opponent cannot activate or the targeted card in response to this card's activation. So it's pretty good instant elimination, and your opponent can't activate any cards in response, which is pretty good. So the only way your opponent could stop this card is by having a second spell or trap out that can counter it. Okay, next up we've got traps. There's only 3 in the deck. So we got Destiny Signal, which is pretty much the same as Hero Signal. When you one of your monsters is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, special summon a level 4 lower Destiny Hero from your deck, hand or deck. Then we have D-Chain. So target one Destiny Hero monster you control, equip it to this card. It gains 500 attack. Also, if it destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, inflicts 500 damage to your opponent. So a pretty nasty card. You can, not only does it boost your monster, every time it destroys a monster, even in defense mode, you still deal damage to your opponent in the form of that 500 burn damage. So I would probably say double up on this one if you don't mind running at a single spell slot. And finally we have D-Counter. So when a face-up Destiny Hero monster you control is targeted for attack, destroy the attacking monster. So this is perfect protection for your Destiny Heroes if you are perfectly set up for bringing out one of your big monsters, but you've used up your normal summon for that turn. You can easily have this set and protect your one of your Destiny Heroes. Not as good as Negate Attack in the E-Hero deck, which ends the battle phase, but it's still some added protection to your Destiny Heroes. And finally we got our extra deck. So we've got Destiny End Dragoon. So a warrior fusion effect who is a fusion of Plasma and Dogma. So fusion summon of this card can only be done with the above materials. Once per turn, you can target one monster your opponent controls, destroy that target. And if it was face up, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack of that target it had while on the field. You cannot conduct your battle phase a turn you activate this effect. Once per turn during your standby phase, if this card is in your graveyard, banish a Destiny Hero monster and special summon it. So we've got some really nice effects on this guy. He is going to be hard to spring out because you only have one of each copy of his materials in the deck. But there are ways of bringing those cards out and into your hand or even the field. We have the limitation that he can only be done with the above materials, so you can't use any extra substitute materials. We have that awesome effect that destroys one of your opponent's monsters and then deals damage to them equal to the attack it had on the field. So most effects will deal damage based on the monster's attack in the graveyard. This will do it on the field. So if you've got an opponent who's put 2 equipped cards and boosted their monster's attack up really high, you'll deal all that boosted damage plus the monster's original attack to their life points. Of course, you do have the downside that you can't attack. Finally, you can banish one other Destiny hero from your graveyard and then special summon this guy, so bringing him out after it's been destroyed is going to be pretty good and pretty easy to do. With 3,000 attack and 3,000 defense, he's not to be sniffed at. I'd definitely say double up on this guy and double up on his materials if you want to focus purely onto this guy. He is probably going to be one of the best winners in the deck. And finally, we have Destiny Hero Dangerous. So one of the, both of these have been pretty new Destiny Hero fusions, but it's a pretty newer one to be talking about. Destiny Heroes have never had much in the way of fusion monsters before now. So this is one Destiny Hero monster and one Dark Effect monster. So pretty much you can use any of your monsters in your deck. So you can discard one card, Quick Effect, and send one Destiny Hero monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard. And if you do, Destiny Hero monsters you control gain 2 attack for each Destiny Hero monster in your graveyard until the end of this turn. You can only use this effect of Dangerous once per turn. So he's a pretty good card. He will help cycle out some of your particular cards in the graveyard. So if you've managed to summon this guy early on, you can send your I've forgotten his name. Malicious. Send a Malicious to your graveyard, then banish that Malicious and bring out another Malicious. So you could also combo this guy with perhaps the Defusion. If you get hold of one, then you can break him down up into his original components, and then you'll have your 3 monsters out if you've used Malicious as effect to summon a second. So he's not too bad as well. Pretty good stats for level 6. And boosting all your Destiny Heroes by the amount of Destiny Heroes in the graveyard times 200 is a pretty good effect boost. You're bound to have quite a few Destiny Heroes in your graveyard, as there are a fair few discard effects in this deck. So, moving on then, we'll look now at strengths of the deck. So, as I've mentioned quite a few times, there is a good source of special summoning in this deck. Plenty of cards allow you to bring out extra cards from the field, hand, or even from your hand, graveyard, or even your deck. There's a good amount of field control as well in regards to, say, Doomlord and even Fearmonger. It allows you to remove and even bring back cards from the grave to the field. There's a good amount of normal spells in here to make use of Diamodude's effect if you manage to pull him out early on in the duel. But it's got some added bonus with the equip and field spells to help boost those low attack Destiny Heroes. Weaknesses. I'd say there's too many high level monsters. You've got 3 1 tributes and then 2 monsters that require 3 tributes as part of their effect to summon them. So you might end up running with high hands that you can't summon the monsters. There's only 1 polymerization, so that could be a weakness. I'd probably say put a second in, or at least put a fusion stage to help you pull it out, because nothing's going to mess up your fusion strategy more than pulling all your materials at the start of the turn, start of the game, and no polymerization till near the end of the game. Other than that, that's about it for weaknesses and strengths. Like I said, strengths for this deck is plenty of special summoning and field control. Modifications, I don't think there is a lot that could be done to this deck. I'd say probably throw in either Fusion Stage or an extra Polymerization if you want to focus more on the fusions and double up on some of these and the materials. Luckily for this guy, his materials is 1 Destiny Hero and a Dark Effect monster. But definitely try and add a second Dogma and a second Plasma, because you will need those if you want to run Destiny and Dragoon. Other than that, I would say maybe remove the 2 Malicious and throw in a couple of extra copies of either Fearmonger or Doomlord or even Diamond Dude. And as I mentioned, Dark Angel, only about half its effect is going to be any good, so maybe remove that and then you got space to throw in another card. Of course, one thing I haven't been mentioning is that these decks are only at the minimum limit of 20 cards. There is, of course, a maximum limit of 30, so if you want to, you could always just add in a few extra cards. But the less you have, the easier it will be to get those combos off. Well, there we have it. I have talked long enough. But, so, what did you think of this? Did you like it? What would you do to modify this deck yourself? Please let me know in the comments down below. All that's left for me to do then is to say thank you for watching. Be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. Also, if you'd love to like to help the channel out, there's of course my affiliate links, buy me a coffee link page, my social medias and my eBay page. All links are in the description down below. I will see you next time then for more mad content. Goodbye.